So this is a busy and exciting time for you and your students, probably a somewhat exhausting time. But what we really want to do is reassure you, and hopefully you can reassure your very ambitious students, that not everything needs to be decided right away. We really encourage students to take advantage of the flexibility of this rich liberal arts environment and to know that through early planning conversations with each of our offices, we can work with your students, help them think about the full range of opportunities, and really work out a timeline that makes sense for them. So that's what we really want to talk to you about today, is how we're working with students beginning in the first year to think through the full range of opportunities so that when the time is right, they're really in a good position to move forward. We'll share a bit about some of the resources that are available, programs that are available to students beginning in their first year, and we'll also share a timeline of events that we're holding throughout the year. I think many of you may have picked those up when you came in. We have some additional copies up here, just to talk about ways that we're reaching out to your students now, this week, and throughout the coming quarters of this particular first year. Since there is so much to take in, and since we have 4 offices represented here today, we can't go into depth about every activity or program that we offer. Instead, we're really focusing on the planning picture. But we will refer you to our websites at the end of the session. And I also wanted to mention that during Family Weekend, which is October 23rd to 25th, each of our offices will hold sessions where we really do get into the nuts and bolts of our programmatic portfolios. So we hope that you'll be able to come back and join us for those as well. I promise equally beautiful weather. How's that? Chicago, you know, that's a safe bet. I also want to mention that the slides for today and the session itself is being recorded and will be available for you on the Family Weekend website. So in case you're feeling like you're anxiously taking notes or taking photos, please know that you'll be able to refer back to this information if you want to. So this is an exciting time for you, but it's a really exciting time for us too, because we know that with every entering class, it's a new group of students who are going to bring their ideas and their energies to our programs. And I just want you to come away with knowing that we're very excited to meet your students and work with them this year and in the years ahead. So with that, I will turn things over to my colleague Meredith, who will talk about first-year career planning.
Thank you, Sarah, and hello again. So our office Career Advancement specializes in helping students figure out what they want to do upon graduation and helping them achieve their goals. We manage everything from student employment, which means research assistantships and jobs on campus, to internships, to professional advising like pre-law, pre-med advising. We run all sorts of internship programs out of the office, externship programs, and tracks, which we'll talk about in more detail. And we spend a lot of time with students getting to know them and helping them formulate their plans. We're located in this building, Ida Noyes Hall, on the 2nd and 3rd floors, and we have a team of about 35 people, so we're one of the largest career offices in the country and the largest in the Ivy League Plus suite group. I wanted to specifically talk about how we support first-year students today. We assign all first-year students a career advisor. In the past couple of weeks, your students should have heard from their career advisor over email. They were writing to introduce themselves and then to set up a time to meet either during orientation week, this week, or early fall quarter. The reason why we think it's important to get connected with your student early on is because all of these experiences build on each other, and the earlier we form a relationship with a student, the better able we are to help them formulate and achieve on executing their plan. We did try to take a lot into consideration. We were assigning the matches with career advisors. We took information from their college application to help make the best match possible, but we want you to know that each student, while they're assigned an advisor, there's a lot of fluidity. At any point, they can work with a different advisor within our office. So for example, right now, they may be thinking they want to pursue a course in the STEM field. They may change their mind. That's likely to occur, and in which case they can switch and work with somebody who specializes in the field they're more interested in. In addition to having an advisor that's assigned to them from the very beginning of their first year, we created a suite of experiential educational opportunities specifically for first-year students. These are designed to give first years the opportunity to explore a career field, to build a professional network, to gain some transferable skills, and to be able to launch them into obtaining an internship or a research opportunity after their first year in the college. So 2 examples I wanted to note for you today. The first is our Alumni Board of Governors externship program. An externship is a 1 to 4 day job shadowing opportunity. This program is designed to be non-competitive. We want to give all first and second year students the opportunity to try a job on, see if they're interested in pursuing this type of an opportunity. We have all of these opportunities with parents or alumni around the world and in every field. So a student can apply to extern over winter break or spring break. That's when about 90% of our students choose to do it. And we hold receptions in the evenings for all of our externs in various geographies. But we also know that winter and spring breaks can be busy. Students are traveling home. They might have training if they're an athlete at the college. And so at any point that a student wants to extern, we can set that up for them. It doesn't have to be over winter or spring break. In addition to these job shadowing opportunities, we run a series of programs we call career treks. We actually created this concept here at the University of Chicago. It's really designed to introduce students to the world of work in a variety of locations. So what we do is we go to a city and we pick an industry theme for that city. So you can think about we're going to Seattle and focusing on tech, or we're going to Boston and we're focusing on healthcare. And when we go to that city, we spend the day trekking around, visiting between 4 to 5 organizations. When we're at the organization for about an hour to an hour and a half, and we're hearing from their leadership, we're hearing about the field, their organization in particular, how students can apply and work there, and students are building up their expertise in this area. They're going to be more knowledgeable when they interview in the future. They're making connections. Oftentimes, these treks lead to internships or full-time jobs. We send resume books ahead of time to all of our trek hosts so that they can choose to interview students while they're there in their office. In the evenings while we're trekking, we have alumni and parent and employer receptions, so it's again another networking opportunity for our students. Treks are now in about, well, they're around the world. We run 45 of them throughout the year. We run treks 4 times a year. In September, in fact, we have a number of treks happening right now. Your students are first year, so they're here for orientation. Our second, third, and fourth years have the opportunity to go on a trek in a variety of cities. So I just heard from our London trek leader a couple of hours ago with a recap on the day in London. We do it over winter break after finals conclude, over winter break day, which is a day off students have in February, and then over spring break. All of the treks are funded in terms of hotel, ground transportation, and food. In many, many cases, we pay airfare as well. And in all cases, if a student's unable to meet the airfare costs, and they have financial need, we will cover those costs as well. So they're designed to provide as many students an opportunity to participate on a trek as possible. When we have a lot of demand in a given city, we'll just add on another trek to that city. For example, San Francisco has become so popular, we now trek to San Francisco 3 times a year. One of my favorite stories, and I'm always looking for someone to top this, is last year at this very same presentation, a woman came up to me after hearing that we'd gone to Santiago, Chile, and said that she was from Sao Paulo, Brazil, and what would it take for us to do a trek down to Brazil? And I said, well, we just would love some industry contacts down there, and she connected us and helped us put together a great spring break trek to Brazil for the very first time. Students were in Sao Paulo for about 3 days, and then she arranged for us to meet with the Olympic Planning Committee in Rio de Janeiro for 1 day. And lo and behold, she was also served as a translator for us on that trek. So it's a great way for parent involvement if you're interested. And again, any great foreign destinations, we're happy to come visit. So in addition to those treks, how are we communicating these opportunities to students? Well, we try to do it in a very systematic way because we know they're receiving a lot of information their first year, so also acclimating to the college. And so we put together a series of programs called Steps to Success. The beauty of these programs is that they happen over dinner. They go with their resident hall, so they're going over together as a group. Their RAs accompany them to the program, and we're closing down other dining hall opportunities for them that evening to ensure very good attendance. At this program, Dean Boyer gives some remarks, I speak, and students are getting an opportunity to connect with upper class students, and they're doing a whole host of things. So at the first one, Exploring Your Strengths, which Sarah's team leads, they're really thinking about Strengths Quest as a tool and doing some team building activities and how that can help them think about themselves as leaders. At College Resume Ready in November, they're converting their high school resume into a college resume for probably the very first time. And when they leave that program, they have their updated resume in hand. Summer Strategies is the program that most parents pay attention to, because this is the program that happens right after students return to campus from winter break. And over winter break, you will probably have a conversation about what will you be doing this summer? Are you thinking about applying for an internship? Where are you going to be living this summer? We know this is an important conversation for parents and their student. And so immediately after students come back from winter break, we hold a program where we're talking to students about the many opportunities available to them and how we help support them through that application process so that they can find meaningful summer work or a meaningful summer experience. That could be studying a language abroad or taking coursework. The important thing is that they're doing something substantive between their first and second year on the college. And then the finer points, which is offered in the middle of April, is once students have obtained an opportunity, and it's usually right around that time that something has been finalized for them. They've got their plans worked out. Here's where we talk to them about what it means to be successful in the workplace. For many students, this will be their first professional experience, and it's this presentation that helps acclimate them for the world of work. In addition to that Steps to Success suite of programs, I wanted to highlight our pre-professional resources. I mentioned that our office is one of the largest in the Ivy League Plus in terms of career advancement staff members. I want to talk for a moment about how we're organized. We have a large student preparation team. These are our frontline career counselors. They're great generalists. Then surrounding them, we have this team of specialists under the UChicago Careers in suite of services. And these are all people who've spent significant time working in industry, and they're come to work for us full-time as advisors and program directors. And once a student decides that they're interested in any of these professional paths, they're the primary point of contact for the student. In addition to serving as that advisor with industry knowledge, they're also liaising with the relevant graduate professional school on campus and making resources available to students who might want to take coursework at one of our graduate professional schools, or how do we bring in graduate students from our campus partners to serve as mentors to our students, and bringing in industry experts to facilitate programming for these students. So this is all under our UChicago Careers in umbrella. It really makes us stand apart because we've got this rich liberal arts education paired with pre-professional training. So I'll just take one brief example. Business was our very first program. It's in partnership with the Booth School of Business. We have a team of 6 business advisors. They've got their MBAs. They have significant experience working in business, whether it's JP Morgan or a top management consulting firm. We also have MBA student mentors. So right next door is the business school. We have a lot of full-time MBAs that serve as mentors. They do interview preparation with our students. They get involved. Our students can take up to 5 Booth courses. Students in our business program are required to take financial accounting plus 2 additional courses there. And then we're always bringing in industry experts to lead programs like financial valuation or strategy. And so not just helping students attain an opportunity, but how do we think about how do we help our students hit the ground running? How do they make a difference from day one? They need to have that professional training as well. And then I just wanted to conclude by talking about what students tend to do after their first year. More and more we see that students are getting an internship after their first year or choosing to do a research opportunity. The research opportunity could be here at the University of Chicago at a national laboratory. It could be returning home if they have a college campus nearby and doing research there. Many students choose to take classes or to study abroad. When I say study abroad, it might be for language acquisition purposes. And some students choose to volunteer. So students are doing a whole host of things. Again, we're trying to help students think about talking about their summer in a meaningful way and finding some sort of substantive component for their summer. So I just wanted to say I'm going to be available at the end of the presentation for questions, and now I'll turn it back to Sarah.
Wonderful. Well, hello again. So as Director of Study Abroad, I've been with the office for 8 years now, and I have to say that this work, working in the field of international education, but specifically at the college here, is particularly meaningful to me. Though I've been with the office for 8 years, I came to the University of Chicago before then in 2002, and I did the Master of Arts program in the Humanities, working most closely with the French department. And my own study abroad roots extend back further to when I was an undergraduate and spent a year abroad in France, and felt that it was really one of the most transformative and important experiences I had as an undergraduate, which sounds like a trope, but it was very much true. So it's very inspiring to be able to work here with this caliber of students at this particular place where I feel we offer really interesting opportunities for students to have meaningful and academically rigorous experiences abroad. And we're really thrilled that so many students do participate in study abroad in the college. More than half of almost half, hopefully more than half by the time your students are participating in these programs, participate in our programs, and it really does span the full range of majors, and that includes students majoring in the sciences, students who are thinking that they're pre-med. We have a diverse range of programs, and I think one of the reasons that our participation rate is so high is that these programs really do serve as an extension of the University of Chicago curriculum overseas. So instead of taking East Asian civilizations on campus, for example, our students can take East Asian civilizations at our center in Beijing with our East Asian language faculty. So I think it's a really compelling offering. Also, because students stay enrolled in the college when they participate in these programs, the courses and credits and grades automatically appear on the transcript. There's no question of transfer credit having to happen later on. It also means that financial aid eligibility is retained, so your tuition costs remain the same when students are participating in one of our programs. So we really want this to be as transparent of a process for students and, of course, for all of you as well. We have a diverse range of programs, and our signature faculty-led programs include the Civilization Studies program, which I alluded to before. So the idea here is that students who participate in the Civ programs are taking the full year's worth of the Civilization's general education requirement, which all students in the college complete, in a single quarter with University of Chicago faculty abroad. So typically about 24 students will travel to one of the great cities of the world together with our faculty and really engage in the history and culture of that particular place. And our faculty revise the programs every year to take advantage of current museum exhibits. They invite guest lecturers, and of course are sharing their own particular scholarship with our students during these programs. We have 17 Civ programs in 12 different cities around the world, including our newest program at the University Center in Hong Kong. So we continue to expand these opportunities over time. And we also have faculty outside of the Civ programs who are teaching programs to our students in a range of different disciplines. So we have faculty who offer courses in the humanities, in the social sciences. We have a new program for biology majors that our faculty in global health are teaching at the Center in Paris that we're very excited about. Our newest thematic program is in Vienna, focusing on human rights. So there's really a pretty wide range of programs. And because students can combine experiences, sometimes we'll see that a student might go abroad for a general education program like the Civ, and then decide, oh, that wasn't so bad. I might go back and do something that's kind of tailored to the major field. So there are lots of different possibilities. So one of the most common questions that comes up is about timing. When's the best time to study abroad? And it's an excellent question that doesn't have a specific finite answer because the possibilities are quite varied and our students' engagements and interests are varied. So my response typically is that there is much flexibility. Some students study abroad as early as spring quarter of the first year. That's not terribly common, but it has happened. Some students wait until spring quarter of their fourth year. The most common time, however, is still third year. So my advice to a student who's asking about timing is the first step should be talk with your college advisor. Think about your interests, your academic interests. What do you want to be involved in here on campus? Are you going to have a leadership role in your residence hall? Are you involved in RSOs? Are you an athlete? So really think about the timing and sort of priorities for engagement here in Chicago, and then think about where they want to go and what programs are available. And together with the advisor and our office, we can think through all of these sort of different engagements and come up with a thoughtful plan for a study abroad experience. I think the thing to really take away is that there are a diversity of different programs, from our faculty-led programs to direct enrollment programs. My office also runs a series of grants for students who are interested in studying a language or doing a research project that would benefit from international experience. So we call those our Summer International Experience grants. So there are lots of ways for students to have really rich, I think, and meaningful study abroad experiences, and we encourage them to participate in the information sessions that we're holding. So we have a couple of sessions happening now during O Week, but if they miss them, not to worry. We also have sessions throughout the autumn quarter, and we will be emailing and tweeting and doing all of those other social media engagements to your students to make sure that they know about these opportunities and they can come see us. So I think with that, I will turn things over to Sarah Cunningham, and she can talk about ways that her office is really working in supporting student success here on campus.
Thanks, Sarah. Good afternoon, or actually it's still morning, I apologize. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Center for Leadership and Involvement, and one of the first things that Meredith actually already alluded to is all of your students were invited to participate in their freshman portal, first year portal, to take the Gallup tool, the Strengths Quest Finder. So if your student hasn't done that yet, they've got a little bit of time, but 60% of the first year class has already taken it, and we really use this tool to kind of start as a foundation to help our students start to understand what is unique about them and what their unique talents and strengths are, and how they might leverage those talents to then bring into a group environment on a class project, a leadership position in a student organization, and even what they might offer to a potential employer. And I just wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of the profile of your students and their peers. So the top 5 strengths as of right now, which are very common and trend well with the incoming classes from the years previous or years prior, would be learner, input, achiever, intellection, and restorative. So these probably aren't surprises because you've been living with your students for the past 18 years. But this demonstrates a great deal of intellectual curiosity, exceptional work ethic, and an interest of breaking things down and then putting them back together, as well as a work ethic to kind of achieve whatever those goals are. So if your student hasn't already taken it, they'll be invited through a number of the programs through Meredith's office as well as through my staff to take that tool and kind of serve as a foundation. So in addition to the Strengths Quest tool and dialogue around their strengths, the Center for Leadership Involvement is home to an umbrella program called UChicago Leads, and really helps students start to think about what kind of leader that they want to be and what kind of leadership skills they'd like to build here outside of the classroom that complements that academic curriculum that they are building and growing their brain power with. So we offer a number of workshops throughout the year. A very popular one is our Way with Words communication workshop, which helps our students think about public speaking skills, some intro work with Meredith's staff around interviews, and getting comfortable and confident in front of large and small groups of people. In addition, we run a competitive student leadership institute. Applications will become available in the winter quarter, and that's a 2-quarter program where students go through a weekly leadership workshop series partnered with a peer student advisor as well as members of our staff. We've got 2 great new programs we launched last year. First is the Modus Vivendi Society, which is actually a series of 2-day retreats that take place each quarter, really focused on diversity, inclusion, and social justice work. So if that's something that's interesting for your students, they should check it out. As well as our Women in Leadership series, which has been a wonderful opportunity to bring both women students in the college, as well as our graduate and professional schools, as well as faculty and staff around campus to deal with issues relating to women in leadership roles. So in addition to the UChicago Leads program, we're also home to about 450 student organizations, which seems like a lot. So there's actually a wonderful tool, blueprint.uchicago.edu, and your students will know this probably within a week or if not a month. And it's our online involvement platform that gives the students an opportunity to kind of research all of the student organizations on campus. In addition, they'll have an opportunity a week from Friday to actually meet about 425 of those student organizations to learn about when their meetings are, find out what events they're doing, and get signed up on List Host. That is the main vehicle for communication. So if you start hearing that, that's a good thing. So out of our 450 student organizations, we have a student government. There are actually 4 seats specifically for students in the class of 2019. So they'll have an opportunity to meet with student government leaders at a barbecue later on this week. So your student may tell you that they're running for a seat in student government. We also have a student newspaper, the Chicago Maroon, a Model United Nations team, or Munich, which about 1 in 8 students in the college is associated with. It hosts a 3-day conference down at the Palmer House for about 3,200 international high school delegates each year. We have over 40 sports clubs, as well as individual intramural teams, over 60 groups focused on community service, a cappella, dance, media, and publications, to a whole slew of other arts groups, cultural and religious student organizations, a radio station, a television station, even a solar car team. And if that's not enough and your student wants to start something new, students can start new groups here each winter quarter, so in their spare time when they're not studying. So in addition to those co-curricular opportunities, Campus and Student Life also hosts a whole slew of programs for students to make connections, find their sense of community, and kind of tap into their passions on campus. So they can consider participating in a Second Saturdays program out of the university's Community Service Center, which invites students to volunteer in the community. There is a whole slew of Cultural Month celebrations offered by the Office of Multicultural Student Affairs. There's an Emerging Minds project that focuses on social justice dialogue, an LGBTQ mentoring program, as well as an Uncommon Fund, which is a one-time opportunity for 2 students to bring a panel of speakers in or build the world's largest churro for the Guinness Book of World Records. So the other thing is that a lot of our students participate in scavenger hunt, which is the world's largest scavenger hunt. So moms, I just want to let you know now, it's over Mother's Day weekend. So if you don't hear from your student and they tell you they're working on a clue, there's a list of 365 clues. That is a very community-based programs out of the housing system, and our students work very closely. It's kind of the version of Color Wars, to make a movie reference, about how our students kind of enjoy and tap into their passions outside of the classroom. So those are just a kind of a smattering of the co-curricular opportunities, and your students will be interacting with our staff throughout the year and be reintroduced to these opportunities. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Nicole to talk about our newest center on campus.
Right, so it's a privilege to be here this morning with my colleagues to talk with you about a brand new center within the college. Your students will be the first to benefit from a fully staffed and dedicated unit, supporting them through nationally competitive scholarships, fellowships, and postgraduate opportunities. So what I thought I'd do is just briefly kind of break down into 2 separate sections, kind of the nuts and bolts of what we do, and then kind of end with the philosophy of why we do what we do. So our office is principally charged in the very first instance to make sure students have as much information as possible about nationally competitive opportunities, and this would be an appropriate place for me to explain perhaps what we are not. We are not the financial aid office, and we're not in charge of internal University of Chicago scholarships. We are really the unit that supports a student in competing with their peers nationally and internationally, and these are opportunities that a student does not decide this week to apply for, next week to get the funding the following week. These are things that require 6 to 9 months of preparation and planning. So for the first year students, and certainly for second year students, a lot of what we do through information sessions and individual guidance is to help them think about planning and good application behavior. And that's anticipating deadlines and really thinking about what are the important opportunities represented actually at this table that they should be really engaging with in order to become the most competitive candidates possible. So we front end as much information as we can through social media, through our website, through information sessions. And then the kind of second and third piece of what we do is very much advising, very much one-on-one individual matchmaking discussions in many cases, meeting with first and second year students to help them think about what opportunities fit them now. There are a number of opportunities available to current undergraduates as well as opportunities available for their postgraduate experience, be that research abroad, a professional experience abroad, or graduate school elsewhere. And so we are advising students in that individual capacity as early as we can possibly manage. The third piece of what we do is really a role that I take on as a representative of many of these national foundations. And in some cases, for the big kind of 10 scholarships you might be sound familiar to you, like Rhodes, British Marshall, Fulbright, Truman, we are charged as an institution to facilitate a selection process. So for the Truman, for example, a student actually applies in their junior year, and we have to select amongst all of those juniors who do apply 4 students to go forward on behalf of the University of Chicago. We do a similar kind of process for the Rhodes and a number of other opportunities. So that's the kind of third piece of what we do. It requires a lot of time and a lot of mentorship. That's where I think our advising turns into mentoring, because it's a lot of time a student dedicates to doing this kind of work. So that's a little bit of the how and the what. And for your students, we'll let the dust settle. I hope to see them end of October in a kind of general 101. What are national scholarships? How do we demythologize them? We find a lot of students will self-select out before they even know that they really should self-select in. They have all of the material here at the University of Chicago through rigorous academic training, through all of these experiences they'll benefit from, to become genuinely competitive candidates for these things. So certainly, first and second year, we're helping them to kind of believe in themselves enough to say yes to a kind of nationally competitive opportunity. So it's really a kind of demythologizing that we're charged to do at the very front end, and then helping them think strategically about how they plan. In terms of the kind of philosophy of why we do what we do, some of you might have heard Dean Boyer and Dean Ellison speak a bit about why they've turned their attention toward this enterprise. We, as I said, are brand new as of July, and I think much of what they will talk about when they speak about national awards is the process that a student undergoes. So we really do believe that your student is a developing scholar, and one of the things that helps them in that development is competing nationally. It's in fact what they'll have to do in just about every part of what they're going to do next, right? So we're supporting them in becoming that scholar that, frankly, they have the potential to be as members of this college. So the philosophy around kind of what we do and why we do it has to do with what they learn about themselves through something that you might be familiar with called the personal statement. You had to probably help them on their admission application to get into college. But for the national scholarship or fellowship, that personal statement is a much different enterprise. 1,000 words max, typically around 700 words. It's a distilled, written articulation of a student's purpose. It might be the only time that they actually sit down long enough to think about why everything that they've done up until that moment matters, framed by their undergraduate experience, but all with an eye towards what they want to do next and how they want to contribute to the world around them and make a difference. So the philosophy behind this enterprise is very much a process-driven philosophy. We think every student can benefit from that. They benefit even if it isn't the award that they receive, but perhaps they have to go into an interview and they have to sit across a table from someone and talk about why what they do matters. And so it's really something that we value quite highly. I thought I'd end just briefly with a few words by a former student of mine. I think students always say it much better than I ever could. And this was a young woman who was presenting at the end of her undergraduate experience just this past May as a part of a reception that we held annually at my kind of previous institution, where we celebrated and recognized every undergraduate who submitted an application, not that won an award, but who actually went through the process. And so this young woman, uncoached, was asked to talk about the value of the process. For her, she was speaking to her peers, to faculty and staff, to vice chancellors, and the provost of the university. And this is what she said, 5 salient points that I think really speaks to why we do what we do in the world of national scholarships and fellowships. She said, first, I learned to pause and reflect. 21-year-old, 2015, it's pretty powerful. First point. Number 2, I gained confidence by realizing that I was capable and competent and possibly even deserving of these kinds of scholarships. 3, I acknowledged my passions, goals, and dreams by convincing myself first of what I wish to do, that it is valuable and meaningful. And then I learned to convince others of that value. I also acknowledged them, my passions, goals, and dreams, as my own. And I had a response when people asked. 4, I learned to work tirelessly to achieve my goals and to never settle for anything. In this, I also learned the value of rejection and disappointment, and to always, always move forward. And 5, I learned to ask everyone for help and realize that there is an entire community of individuals willing to support my dreams. To just kind of frame out the context of that young woman's narrative, at the time that she said those 5 things, she had applied for 5 opportunities. We'd spent about a year with her. She had no results yet at that stage. Shortly after that discussion and presentation, she received the Rotary Global Grant to fully fund a 1-year master's course at Oxford and was admitted to Irvine for a 7-year fully funded PhD, which has deferred so that she could go to Oxford. And she wrote just about a week ago, sent an email to me about what it's like to settle into the UK and get used to that very different college system. And one of the last things she said was, my task for the week is to actually start to live the dream I had only imagined a year ago. So that's the business we're in, hopes and dreams, and we look forward to working with your students at any stage throughout their undergraduate career.